Wow. So this
Whoa.
wasn't a let's get from point A to point B trip. This was let's just jump on our bikes and we'll see as much as we can. It seems
Yeah.
like you just
Yeah,
were
I had
out
a,
exploring.
pretty much, yeah, pretty much.
Wow. Wow.
The, the
That's the
entertaining
beauty
part
of
of
a
this trip,
motorcycle.
Yeah.
and the entertaining part of this trip was when we left home, we said we're not going to take any tools whatsoever. So if we break down, we just work it out on the spot. We'll fix it as it comes, So we didn't have any contingency plans or backup vehicles, or it was basically
Did that
just a.
But it was a thought to have contingency plans, but you're like, no, we don't need them.
We don't need that. So we had one breakdown deep in the countryside of Serbia, I think it was. And fortunately for us, it was just a simple battery terminal coming loose. So same thing. We were in the middle of a paddock in the middle of nowhere, broken down with no tools, and a guy just came out of nowhere and invited us back to his house. It turns out he restored motorcycles. He's an older guy who's in his 50s or 60s, and he had a garage full of motorcycles that he was rebuilding himself, and new motorcycles inside out, had tools, and we stayed there for a couple of days and drank their wine and ate their food.
It's crazy how that always works out. We hear these stories all the time where it's like, we didn't have a plan, but then we met somebody who helped us, and it's unbelievable how willing strangers are to help one another. It's a beautiful thing. The thing that I'm curious about is not hearing the people who didn't make it.
Those are the news stories, Bob.
We don't know what happened to them.
No, they're the ones that have been missing for 20 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell you a lighter side to that was Greece. Obviously, in Australia, there's a huge Greek population, and myself and the guy I was with, we get up in the morning to go for a coffee at a local cafe. As we're walking down the street, somebody at a restaurant to go hear our accents, obviously, and say, "Oh, you guys are Australian?" We go, "Yeah." They'd be like, "Oh, we have an uncle in Melbourne. Come in and drink ouzo with us." So this is like 8:30 a.m. We'd go into a cafe, have a shot of ouzo. Thanks, guys. Thanks for the ouzo. Thank you. We'll move on. 20 metres down the street, we'll still be talking. Someone else will come out of another cafe and go, "Oh, you guys are Australian. I've got an uncle in Melbourne. Come in for an ouzo." So
they all have the same uncle.
We were drunk. We were drunk in Greece the whole time. We just couldn't get away from people that had relatives in Melbourne. That's great. I'm serious. We were drunk the whole time. It was a small place.
Now, did you time this out according to the climate, to the weather of each region? Because once you get into Germany and start moving north, if it's their winter time, I imagine it's a pretty cold experience.
It feels like it's always winter in Germany,
right? Yeah. So how did you did you factor that in, or did you was that another thing like, well, we'll get jackets when we get there?
No, we did the summer thing. So obviously the Middle Eastern summer was hot.
Yeah,
it was very, very hot. But as we obviously went through Europe, it was the middle of summer and it was bearable. It was cold. We went obviously up through Italy into Switzerland. It was cold. We got to about 13,000 feet over the top. We crossed into Switzerland. It was cold up there. But everywhere else was good. I mean, I had to be in Norway by a certain date, so we knew we had like 3 or 4 months up our sleeves, so we were in no rush to go anywhere.
Okay.
And we were aware that it was summer, so we did sort of work around that.
Right.
So did it take you, you said you did that trip in 3 to 4 months?
It's about 4 months, I think.
4 months. Okay. Now I'm curious, when we talked about this a little bit earlier with if you were to do South America, you'd probably just buy a motorcycle there. And then in India, you bought a motorcycle. Did you bring yours or did you buy one?
No, in India, I
sorry, for
this trip?
Yes.
No, I shipped my bike. I shipped a Harley that I owned here to Dubai. I shipped the one that I already owned.
Okay. So you knew it pretty well, and you knew when it broke down what could go wrong.
It didn't break down.
Just that one time.
I'm not a big motorcycle guy, but are Harleys, is it established that they're the best?
I wouldn't say that. I mean, I ride Harleys, obviously, but are they the best? They're very, very good and they're reliable, but I mean, everybody has their favourite. It's like cars.
Is there an Australian motorcycle company that's just as big or just as popular?
No.
No.
Everybody here rides Harleys. I mean, the roads, we've got some great roads here.
Yeah.
I mean,
Now-
it takes 1 week to ride from Perth to Sydney, so you wouldn't want to be riding like a sports bike to that sort of mile.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Now, for cost, I'm curious, how does it compare to, flying and like renting a car and trying to do that same route?
Yeah, it would be. I mean, depends how you fly.
Yeah.
It's. I mean, obviously in the Middle East. When I was in Dubai, petrol I think was about 6 cents a litre, 6 Australian cents a litre, which is probably about 4 cents US.
That's like
a
cheaper
litre.
than water.
Yeah.
Which I thought was cheap when I was in Dubai. When I got to Iran, I think it was like about 2 cents a litre.
Oh my God.
And it's everything. You don't get anything under like 100 octane. The fuel quality is just amazing. It's cheap.
100 octane.
Yeah.
Wow.
What
All
is
right.
it in the United States?
It's typically like, I think unleaded is at 87.
Wow.
Yeah, we pay here in Australia in Perth. I think we're paying about $1.40, which is probably about 90 cents US
Yeah.
Per
A litre.
gallon?
For a litre.
For a liter.
Yeah.
There's 3.78 liters in a gallon.
Yes, there is. Yeah.
Yeah, look at Elliot.
So it's
Science.
expensive. It's expensive when you take into consideration these guys have got very high quality fuel for 2 cents a litre. It's
Yeah.
yeah, cheaper
Interesting.
than water.
And that whole trip was what? Close to 10,000 kilometers?
No, I did 30,000 kilometres.
30,000.
30,000 Ks in 26 countries.
That is a hell
Just
of a
on that trip.
Just on that trip, yeah.
Wow. All
26
right.
countries, 30,000 Ks.
So I just mapped it because you said you did you say you took a ferry from Dubai to Iran?
Yeah, to Bandar Abbas, yeah.
Okay. All right. Good. That's where I mapped it from because I just looked for the biggest city on the coast there. And that, if you were to do a direct route, is roughly 7,000 kilometers. So you extended your trip by 4 times.
We did this the whole way.
Yeah.
We did a backtrack. And like I said, we followed the whole coast of Greece. So when you look at the Greek coastline, it's a lot of Ks.
Man, that sounds like a life-changing trip.
Yeah, it was.
I imagine, yeah. Who were you with?
I was just with one brother I have a brother in Melbourne, and it was just the 2 of us.
Huh.
Wow.
So
And throughout go ahead.
had I not had work commitments after, I would have loved to have just kept riding until I would have ridden into Russia and just head east. But I had to be back in Australia for work, so I jumped on the plane and flew home.
All right. And that's what I wanted to ask is what were you doing for work at this time? Did you have to manage it all while you were on this trip, or did you specifically set aside 4 months that you were going to be out?
Fortunately for me, I have a very good management team, so I have about 60 staff at the moment, and I have some very, very good, capable people that can take the reins along the way, right the motorcycles, which is fortunately for me, very, very good news.
That is.
Yeah.
Well, and it
Yeah.
seems like you set yourself up for that because the studio does very well and you like to travel.
And I get paid while I'm riding, so it's
That's always a good thing. Yeah. So,
Oh, I guess, we didn't get back to, I want to get back to the cost of the trip.
yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
cost roughly about you'd say 20,000 Australian dollars, I guess.
Okay. For 4 months.
For 4 months, and I mean, like I said, we did 30,000 Ks in 26 countries, so it was cheap.
Now, you did not plan any accommodations or anything, so would you just ride up to a town and just maybe check out some hostels or hotels, or did you just decide to sleep on the road? How did you decide where you were going to stay that night?
We literally had no plans at all. Every day we'd just grab a map and we'd say, let's go that way. So we didn't have any intentions to stay in any particular city or in any town. We just rode to a point where we said, let's stop here, and if we're in the country or out in the countryside, we just sleep in the bush. If we're lucky enough to be in a city, then we just go, there's a hotel, let's stay there. So it was all really like flying blind the whole way.
Did it ever rain?
Many times, yeah. Especially in Macedonia.
And
I
what do
think
you
we'll
do
wait.
in that situation, especially if you're trying to sleep on the side of the road?
Yeah, that was a little bit testing in some spots because we were soaked, and so I guess it just is what it is. You just deal with it, I guess.
So I mean, thinking about like the details of that situation, you could be on the side of the road, sleeping in the bush. A rainstorm comes in, you get soaked. I'm sure you struggle to sleep, and then you had to wake up, and everything's wet, and you just jumped on the bike and kept going.
Yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
pretty much.
Yeah.
Just roughing it.
Obviously, yeah. I mean, we had a bad run through Macedonia. Well, in Macedonia, I think we were wet for probably a week straight. There were some back roads there where the mud was literally knee deep. So you're trying to ride the bike through knee deep mud, and you're soaked and you're covered in mud. And obviously, in knee deep mud, the bike is hard to control. So you crash every 20 or 30 meters, but it's soft mud and it's testing. But I mean, what are you going to do? You can't stop. You passed way past the point of no return. So he's got to keep.
Oh yeah.
The struggles definitely seem to add to the experience, especially when you come out on the other side. If you had to pick anything, that you say you learned on this trip, what would it be?
Like I said earlier, I think the major thing that I took away from it was basically people are good people. People are good. And what I also learned was that people are so willing to help, like me in the past, I've probably been a little bit cold towards, strangers on the road but after the love that I received being on the road from just complete strangers now, I help anybody anytime. So I took that away as a positive.
That's pretty profound. Yeah, I mean, I think in my experience, not to talk bad on my own country by any means, but the United States, in my experience, seems to have some of the coldest people I've been around, relatively speaking, to traveling to other countries, especially countries that are underdeveloped, that still hold these very tight-knit like family values or community values. They are much warmer and more welcoming than, let's say, being dead smack in New York City, where you have 9 million people who live on top of each other. This is what blows my mind. So you have this incredible population living on top of each other, and yet they're more disconnected than these villages of a fraction of the amount of people.
It's fun. I mean, I've never been to New York. I do have plans to get there, obviously. But, it's funny you should say that because obviously places like Jakarta and Delhi, they're 22 million people in each city, and the people on the vibe in those places is still, you think 22 million people, it would be just a sprawl of madness, but it still is. There's people there that are still smiling and they've got nothing. They don't even have like a box to sleep in. They just sleep in the dirt with the sarong. They're still smiling. They'll still help you. They'll still offer you. It's. I
wonder where that tipping point is that you change. That there's that change in mentality where you've made so much money and you have so many things that it kind of pushes you in the direction of, I need more money and more things, and away from that human connection. Right?
Well, you see that in places like Jakarta and Delhi where people literally have nothing. Like, I don't know, when I say nothing, I mean nothing. Like they don't even have a box to shelter themselves from the sun, and they still smile. They're still smiling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that too. We were in Peru and people are living on their floor of their home is dirt. And they're happy and they're nice. And I've been in Thailand where they don't even have running water, or they do, but it's salt water. They don't have running fresh water.
Yeah.
And some of the nicest people in the world, and they're just genuinely happy to be alive, and they're curious. And I don't know, maybe there's something negative about overpopulating a city and becoming overly modernized that starts to push people to transition from some of these, they're less human to a degree.
Yeah. I think even though cities are densely populated, there is, at least in the US, there's this mentality of individualism. Like